Government corruption has never been more prevalent or caused more harm. It's why extremism is on the rise. It's why the financial gap between the haves and have-nots has never been wider. And it's why our planet is at risk of an extinction level tragedy. That's why I need your help to keep exposing the truth about the rot on both sides of the aisle. Become a supporter or a friend of the show today by clicking on the coffee link in the description box below. Friends of the show join me on a Zoom hangout once a month, and you guys can ask me any questions you want, and I can get to know you better. But the most important reason to help is to keep the show alive. Together, we can and will save our country and our planet. Thanks in advance and enjoy the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. I have updates to share about 5 of Trump's insurrectionists. It's time for a special episode of Where Are They Now?
Ryan Bledsoe was arrested. Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
So 5 January 6 defendants went to trial recently, and all 5 were found guilty. Here's the deal. There was a large group of men. They had all been charged together. These were all for violent crimes at the Capitol. And 3 of the men opted for what's called a stipulated bench trial. That concluded last week. Now, here's the difference between a stipulated bench trial and a traditional bench trial. According to Law and Crime news outlet, in a stipulated trial, both the prosecution and the defense agree to the facts of the case. Now, you may say, okay, how is that different than a plea? It's different than a plea because in a plea deal, you're usually pleading down to just one charge or a reduced amount of charges. Also, the way that it differs is that the defendant can't appeal their sentence under a plea agreement, except for under very specific circumstances. In regard to stipulated trials, there was a former federal prosecutor who spoke with Law and Crime news outlet, and they said that the right to an appeal under a stipulated agreement depends on the jurisdiction. So you may be able to seek an appeal. So the 3 men in this stipulated bench trial were Robert Morse, Jeffrey Sills, and David Judd. And it was clear why they chose a bench trial, because the judge presiding over their case is Trump appointee Trevor McFadden. He's been overly lenient with these January 6 defendants. I've been highly critical of him. In this case, I'm going to give him some credit, but I'm not going to give him all of the credit, because at the conclusion of their bench trial, the judge found Morse and Sills guilty of obstructing an official proceeding, assaulting officers with a dangerous weapon, and robbery. And he found Judd guilty of obstructing an official proceeding and assaulting officers. So while these are felonies and some of them are punishable by up to 20 years in prison, there were a lot more crimes, which the judge seemed to just let slide. So, for example, each of these men were facing a felony charge of civil disorder, and they were hit with charges like physical violence on restricted grounds. They don't come with as much time in prison, but one of these men received an increased penalty for the use of a dangerous weapon in one of those crimes. My question is, how can you find them guilty of assaulting officers, but yet you can't find them guilty on physical violence or civil disorder? That's just nonsensical. It just seems like he was looking to give them a break. Anyway, Sill will be sentenced first. His sentencing is on November 18th. Morse will be sentenced on January 6th of next year, coincidentally, and then followed by Judd on February 27th of next year. The 4th man who was just found guilty is William Reed. Reed also took part in a stipulated bench trial. He was found guilty on all counts, including obstructing an official proceeding, altering, destroying, or concealing documents or other objects, entering a restricted building or grounds, destruction of government property, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and parading in a Capitol. Reed, because of that obstruction charge, is also facing up to 20 years in prison. He's scheduled to be sentenced December 7th. The final case was that of Christopher Moynihan. Moynihan also had a stipulated bench trial. All of a sudden, these things are in fashion. Essentially, he pleaded guilty to all of the misdemeanors with which he was charged, and that included entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, entering the floor of Congress, and parading or demonstrating in a Capitol. The judge then decided his fate only in regard to the 1 felony charge of obstruction. U.S. District Judge Christopher Cooper presided over the bench trial, and he found Moynihan guilty of obstructing an official proceeding, which, as I mentioned, comes with a 20-year maximum in prison. Although, as we've seen, the federal sentencing guidelines are always much less. So Moynihan will be sentenced also in December 20th. I will, of course, let you guys know how all of these cases shake out. I'll keep you posted. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.